Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you very much for joining us for our final Monday in November. Can you believe it? This year has just gone so fast, and yet at the same time, it's really dragged. It's a strange year. So we're getting closer to 2022. But today's forecast, we've got the final update for you on the last days of November and also how December is kicking off. Not only in New Zealand, but also Australia and up here in the South Pacific Islands. So this map shows the wind map. It also shows air pressure. And the areas you see in the brighter colours and in the yellows, that's all high pressure. So there's a high pressure belt from well east of New Zealand right across into a large portion of Australia. There is some low pressure out to the west, and we've got a weak low out here in the Tasman, but it's technically into the high pressure side of things, even though it's spinning clockwise. And that's just going to get smothered by the high pressure zones surrounding it. And as you can see up in the tropics with the La Nina easterlies going along, there is lower pressure the further north you go up towards the equator. We'll be keeping a very close eye on the conditions up around tropical parts over the coming weeks. So let's get into the forecast. Here is New Zealand rainfall for the next 3 days, starting from today. Most of the rain through central area. That's where that front that brought the rain to the west coast this past weekend, falling apart, and the leftovers from that very weak low that you just saw, that's what comes on in. Then there'll be a bit of a southerly later in the week. That'll bring in a few more showers. So the rainfall totals are around about 10 to 30 millimetres through central New Zealand, this area here. To the very north and the very south, you are looking mostly dry. Just might be an isolated shower here and there. As we take a look at Australia, look at this. This line here, westwards, completely dry. I mean, there might be a very isolated shower right down here and right at the very top around Darwin. Otherwise, 65% of Australia is bone dry. But the eastern side's got heavy rain, and in fact in this zone here over 100 millimetres possible. That could lead to flooding and some road closures over the next couple of days as that intense rain falls there. Surprisingly, it's actually colder than average inland, but coastal areas are about normal, and it's warmer than average down around Melbourne, Adelaide, Hobart and over to Perth, and much warmer than average in the New Zealand area today, tomorrow again. We actually thought a little weak southerly was going to come into the very south, and while it might just do that, it's not a very cold one. Temperatures should still be about normal. So most of New Zealand warmer than average, with most of the South Island's interior over 8 degrees warmer than average. We declared last week an early summer. We stand by that in New Zealand. Early summer has certainly arrived, although for some of you in the south, yes, it has been a bit spring-like, so I'll give you that. We had like nearly a frost the other morning, so let's be fair. So let's get into the forecast. Here we go for the next few days ahead. So Tuesday, the leftovers of that rain, and there's that low that's completely fallen apart. High pressure on this side, high pressure on that side. This is all being squashed and pushed apart. So there will be some rain, plenty of cloud around the North Island, but the very north of New Zealand stays mainly dry, but there will be a bit of spillover into eastern areas. That's the good news. And you can see the heavy rain here around Australia. Plenty of downpours up here to the north, coming in around Fiji with that tropical warmth just north of that red line, spreading into the Fiji area. As we get to Wednesday, a similar story up in the tropics, plenty of downpours lining up and still coming into that eastern side of Australia, although easing a wee bit up here around Queensland. And then further down over New Zealand, high pressures in charge of the South Island. That weak low just out to the eastern side now, that encourages a few showers and drizzle patches midweek along that eastern side. Gisborne, Hawke's Bay and East Cape. Maybe 1 or 2 isolated inland showers for the upper South Island and potentially Northland as well on Wednesday. Typical with La Nina to sort of get that weather. You see it again here on Thursday. A couple of isolated downpour risks in the South Island, 1 or 2 up here around Northland, and over here around Gisborne and East Cape, a couple of light showers coming off the sea with that easterly wind. Drying out finally in Australia on Thursday with a low pressure zone out towards Perth. That'll drive in those easterly winds a little bit for you. And our final map for Friday actually shows those gusty winds blowing around Perth, but mostly dry in Australia. The downpours in the tropics dropping down a little bit further now, affecting Tonga a wee bit more. And those easterlies continue north of New Zealand, turning around, coming into the South Island as another rainmaker on Friday. So as we go into the weekend, this is the last map for the video today. You can see it's a similar setup to what we had last weekend, the one we've just had, with rain coming back into the west coast, a few heavy falls, nor'westers across the North Island. The difference is there might be more showers in the North Island coming in out of those easterlies this coming Saturday. No Christmas parades, I don't think, really for me to worry about this year, which is actually, I will admit, that's one positive for the forecasters to not have to worry about that. It's a downside for you guys not being able to go to them. But hopefully some good weather still around the country, some good variety. It's not completely dry, but like I say, early summer has arrived in New Zealand. It's leaning warmer and drier than average for the most part. There are some exceptions. The west coast is getting the rain, and the lower South Island, like I say, had some cold nights just the other night. That's all from me. Please send us your feedback, and our next update, it'll be tomorrow, Tuesday. We'll see you then.